G'day, legends. Well, another pay-per-view is in the books, and it looks like once again the UFC Pound for Pound rankings have been officially updated, but it's up to us to correct them. However, I will say that this sort of series that has started off on this channel has happened because generally all year long, the UFC's pound for pound rankings have been all over the place, and just we knew somewhere deep down they didn't vibe with us, the community. They just seemed a little bit off. So quite often during the live streams over the course of the year, me and all the boys in the live chat, the Council of Chads as I like to call them, would sit down and deliberate what the real pound for pound list actually is. And we seem to always come up with a much better list than what the general MMA media were coming up with. However, they have released their pound for pound list this week on a Tuesday, as they always do, and theirs is actually pretty good for once. It's still enough to annoy Dana White. Dana White seems to be having, I don't know, some sort of brain malfunction if John Jones isn't immediately thrust into the number one spot. He wants to take over the list himself and just call it AI. But either way, it's actually a pretty good list, but there are still some adjustments to make. So there's the current UFC pound for pound list, and we sat down and we came up with our own, which I will take you through thusly. Now, the way that we do our pound for pound list on the live streams is a little bit more skill based. It does seem like the pound for pound list in the media landscape is really just a resume list. It's almost who's got the best resume versus who's been the most active. And that's sort of how they come up with that. But we like to chuck in a bit of skill as well, because it does seem like pound for pound should be a rankings of how would these fighters match up if they were all in the same weight class fighting each other, which really does break down to skill. And you sort of use the resume as a, well, look how good they are at X, or look how good they are at Y. They were able to, I don't know, Alex Pereira was able to outbox Sean Strickland. He knocked him out. So Alex Pereira must have some of the best boxing in the UFC. That's sort of where resume meets skill, and then you get a little bit of activity as well. But generally, we do our pound for pound list as a skills list. So coming in at number 15 at the bottom of the pound for pound list is JDM. JDM is one of the best boxers in the UFC. You've probably got Ilia Topuria, Petr Yan, and JDM. They are pretty much the three best. You could chuck in maybe Sean Strickland and Alex Pereira as well. But when we're talking the best boxers in the UFC, JDM is one of them. And then the fact that his ground game, his takedown defense has progressed to such a level that he can be in there against a really heavy grappler like Gilbert Burns and be able to get up off the feet with a broken arm is incredible. The fact that he could keep getting up with that broken arm does show that JDM has got one of the best skill sets in the UFC. Plus, he's Australian, so he gets a few extra plus points for that, mate. Moving up, though, number 14th on the pound for pound list is Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is so well-rounded, it is incredible. Maybe he might even need to be higher. You know, we might actually need to pick this up in the live stream, because now that I'm looking at Charles Oliveira here, he might need to be higher. It's so hard to pick a top 15 most skilled fighters in the UFC. Charles Oliveira might be up even higher. Maybe it's because of his legacy, he's had some losses, but either way, the jiu-jitsu, the striking, the striking seemed to be even more on point and more crisp against Michael Chandler recently this weekend. But either way, Charles Oliveira is going in at number 14. Coming in at number 13th is Shavkat Rakhmonov. All right, hold on to your towel, Laura Sanko. I know you want him to be higher, but 13th is very good. I like to see a charging, rising, up-and-coming contender similar to JDM already on the pound-for-pound list. I find it very weird that we have champions that were nowhere near it, like Merab, and then all of a sudden, there's somewhere like smack bang in the middle. And Shavkat, I do believe, is going to be a champion for at least one title run before JDM comes and snatches that belt off him. But let's be real, Shavkat, he's finished everyone that he's ever fought. So we know that his striking is there, but he's also got the submissions, the wrestling, the ground game, everything that is required to be a fully sick MMA fighter, mate. Coming in at number 12 and holding on to their spot by a thread, by the slightest of margins, is Alexander Volkanovski. I'm not going to lie. This spot here is a respect placing because he was recently at number 1. We know this. If you watch these pound for pound videos before, you know why Alexander Volkanovski's here. I don't think that you can be the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world and then just 2 losses later not even be close to the list. But I'm telling you, Volk, If you don't look against Lopez, mate, you're not going to be on this list much longer. I don't know if Volk has still got the speed, the chin. I don't even know if he will even still have the strength that is required to hold people down. And it's weird what happens to your mind when you're judging a fighter after just 2 losses. It's almost like they lose all skill, which is obviously not true, but it just, the aura. Where is the aura gone for Volk? It's almost completely gone. Speaking of being completely gone, number 11, Leon Edwards, someone else who also seems to be completely gone from the UFC. We just had a massive shakeup over at welterweight, looking for someone to be a short notice fight for this fight or that fight. Everyone's name seemed to get thrown in the mix. Even Kamaru Usman was putting things out on Twitter and making statements. Has anyone seen Leon? Has anyone checked under, I know he was very keen on us looking at him before, but can anyone find him now? But can anyone look at Leon Edwards now? Where is he? Genuinely. Anyway, he's on the list. Again, that looks like number 11 and number 12 are respect spots. If we can get Leon back in the cage and if he can fight again, we'll see how he goes, but he is plummeting down the list at rates heretofore unseen. Coming in at number 10 is Khamzat Chimaev. I kind of wanted to put him a little bit higher. The Council of Chad's pushed back on that. Maybe his striking isn't exactly where it should be, but oh my God, did he ragdoll Robert Whittaker. I hate it. I hate talking about it. I'm going to move on. I don't want to talk about Khamzat Chimaev. No, yuck. He broke my heart, boys. He broke my heart and Whittaker's teeth. Again, at number 9 is Bilal Muhammad. Some people think that he should be higher, you know? He outstruck Leon Edwards, kind of crazy, was able to take Leon Edwards down. Leon Edwards has great takedown defense. Not if you put him in there with Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad makes him look like a baby. Picks him up, throws him to the ground. You shouldn't do that to babies. But you know what I'm saying. Bilal Muhammad just manhandled him. However, where is the danger? If you're going to put him higher on the list, I need to see some danger. You know what I mean? I feel like there's we know this, right? There's fighters in the UFC. If you saw them in the street, they'd kill you. They'd absolutely kill you. If I saw Bilal Muhammad in the street, I wouldn't have a problem saying any of this stuff to his face instead of hiding behind a computer screen. I'd tell him it all to his face, that he's boring, that he's anti-pay-per-view, that he couldn't hurt a fly, and then Bilal Muhammad would just charge me and launch a Jorge Masvidal knee right up the center, and I would just smile at him. I'd be like, mate, you can't hurt anything, right? You wouldn't even make a dint on a wall, Bilal. Well, where is the power? Please, God, Bilal, but bring in some finishes, and then we can talk about raising you too high. We need to sit down again we didn't do this right. How is Bilal number 9, but Charles is number 14? This list is already wrong. This is why this conversation has to keep getting reworked every single week, because literally every time I look at it, I'm like, what am I doing? He's got the skills, but what is the point of having the skills if you don't have the power to implement any danger? You know what I mean? Anyway, moving up to number 8. Speaking of not having any danger is Merab Dvalishvili. Everything that I said about Bilal, copy and pasted onto this. Moving up to number 7, Alexandre Pantoja. I don't like him. I think he's boring. I don't hate him. I'm indifferent, right? There are some fighters that I'm like, I can't wait to see you get knocked out, mate. Some fighters that I really do hate. John Jones, as we all discovered over the last week of watching my content. I hate John Jones. Someone should drive a car into him instead of him driving a car into pregnant women. Is that too much for YouTube? You know what I'm saying. I don't like John Jones. Now, Alexandre Pantoja, I'm indifferent to. I find him a little bit boring. Not because he beat Usyk. That was Usyk's fault that Usyk lost that fight. But I just don't find him that exciting or entertaining. However, his skill set is completely well-rounded. He knows how to box the wrestler. He knows how to wrestle the boxer. But it's not just that. He knows how to and when to implement the skill that is required. He has got fighter IQ. He won't see a fighter on one leg in front of him and then decide to grapple him against the cage. Oh no, not Alexandre Pantoja. He knows what tool to pull out of the toolbox and when to use it. And that is a insanely underrated tool in modern MMA. Considering the consistent, I don't even know if they're mistakes, the consistent poor choices that we see from MMA fighters every single weekend. Alexandre Pantoja does not suffer from that. So here we go. Getting into the real juicy part of the pound for pound list, the top 6. Landing at number 6 is Dricus du Plessis. Now, of everything that you could say about the skills, of Charles Oliveira, of Bilal Muhammad, of Merab Dvalishvili, of Alexandre Pantoja. None of that applies to Dricus du Plessis. He has no skill whatsoever. Juliana Pena is a better looking MMA fighter than Dricus du Plessis. His skill levels are horrible. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing out there. He throws big meaty. It's like he puts his back up against the cage. The fighter is standing on the Monster Energy logo, and Dricus just goes and just autisms at him from completely out of range. It's amazing to watch Dricus du Plessis do what he does. When he's in there against some well-rounded, high-level fighters like Israel Adesanya will be clearly winning the fight. Here comes a TKO from a body shot from Israel Adesanya. The fight's about to be over, and Dricus has won again. How does he keep doing this? Effectiveness and activity and pure Chad energy is what has gotten Dricus here to number 6, and I respect you for it, sir. Coming in at number 5 is Ilia Topuria. Brilliant fighter. One day will be the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. I believe that he could beat Islam Makhachev, but this is where things start to get real nitty-gritty on the live stream, and I couldn't move him any higher. People were not allowing it, but striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, he's got it all. Brilliant, Ilia Topuria. Hold on to your seats, boys, because he is going to be a champion for a long bloody time, and he will be the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world before I finish this channel. Believe that. And now, coming in with activity and finally landing where he should be on the pound-for-pound list is number 4, Jon Jones. Let's face it, boys. Yes, he beat up a heavy bag in Stipe Miocic, but in that fight, he showed us everything that he needed to show to answer the question of, does Jon Jones still have it? Maybe a little bit slower, but maybe with a little bit more power. We rarely see Stipe wobble when something lands on his chin, and he was wobbled when Jon Jones was landing on his chin. Yes, he ran away from the striking of Stipe, but that's still fighter IQ. He still knows when to run away and when to engage. That first round looked like we were watching Jon Jones from 2013. That was vintage Jon Jones. Jon Jones has still got it. He is the number 4 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But I do believe that if Jon Jones goes in there and fights Tom Aspinall, then Tom Aspinall wins, which is why Tom Aspinall is coming in at number 3 on the pound-for-pound list. Let's face it, if you're putting Dricus du Plessis this high because of effectiveness, you got to respect Tom Aspinall because of effectiveness. When he punches someone, they go to sleep. He bounces heads off canvases professionally. We can't watch any tape on this guy because there isn't any tape, because he keeps finishing people. But not only that, we know that he grew up in a jiu-jitsu gym, so we know that he's got jiu-jitsu as well. We know that he can blast a double leg. Yeah, he's blasting on Andrei Arlovski, but he's still able to do it. Tom Aspinall is the 3rd best pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC when it comes to how effective he is, and that might just be because of the amount of power that he covers in. And then coming in at number 2 and number 1, let's face it, let's do both of them at the same time, is Islam Makhachev and Alex Pereira. You know, when you look at the stats, Alex Pereira has got 100% takedowns. Kind of crazy. And Islam Makhachev, although he is one of the best skilled fighters in the UFC, every time we see him, it does seem to be life and death. You know, apart from the second Volk fight, which Volk was on 11 days notice. But, you know, when everyone's prepared, when Dustin Poirier is prepared, Dustin Poirier, we love him. He's a fan favorite. But really, guys, Dustin Poirier, you know, an aging top 5 at best. Alexander Volkanovski, he's little. He's a little bloke. When these guys are prepared, they're pushing Islam Makhachev to life and death situations. Alex Pereira, he gets in there. He looks at Yuri Prohaska and knocks him out 3 times, just with his eyes, mate, just with the stare. So Alex Pereira is the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC at the moment. Islam Makhachev is coming in at number 2, a very close number 2. You could switch these ones up. No one would be angry at you. But that's it, boys. That is the updated UFC pound-for-pound list. Let me know what you reckon about it down there in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, g'day, my name's Dougie. I make an MMA video every single day, and I go live about 3 times a week. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you can join the Council of Chads. And after the next pay-per-view, we can argue about the pound-for-pound list for days and days and days again. So, wouldn't you want to be there for that? Doesn't that sound exciting to you? If you're already on board with the channel, hit that like button. And until then, I will see you all in the next video. Continue looking for Leon Edwards. Continue scouring the earth for Weili Zhang. Where are these fighters? Why are they not booked in to fight? These are the questions that we need answered. See you all in the next video.